One thing that differentiates the book of Abraham's account of the creation from the biblical account in Genesis is that the book of Abraham mentions plural gods as the agents carrying out the creation. And then the Lord said, "Let us go down." And they went down at the beginning, and they, that is, the gods, organized and formed the heavens and the earth. These gods are mentioned 32 times in Abraham 4 and 16 times in Abraham 5. Significantly, these gods are said to have taken counsel among themselves during the creation. This language of the gods taking counsel among themselves in Abraham 4 and 5 appears to be a natural continuation of the description of the premortal council in heaven in Abraham 3:22 through 28. One of the rulers in the premortal council, who was like unto God, is depicted as saying, "We will go down, for there is space there, and we will take of these materials, and we will make an earth whereon these may dwell. And we will prove them herewith, to see if they will do all things whatsoever the Lord their God shall command them." In this manner, the council of gods in Abraham 3 counseled with each other during the creation in Abraham 4 and 5. After the lifetime of Joseph Smith, archaeologists working in Egypt, Syria, Palestine, and Mesopotamia uncovered scores of texts written on papyrus, stone, and clay tablets. As these texts were translated, scholars and laypersons alike were surprised to discover creation myths that in many ways paralleled the biblical creation account while differing in significant ways. One way in which these creation myths were different from the creation account in Genesis was the clear, stark portrayal of what came to be widely called the divine or heavenly council. In many of these myths, a group or family of gods or divinities worked together in fashioning the components of the cosmos. Other times, the gods engage in divine battle over control of the cosmos. Whatever the specific case, almost universally, these myths described multiple deities serving different roles or functions in the process of creation. With this extra biblical material in mind, and with the discovery of superior manuscripts such as the Dead Sea Scrolls that provide better readings of certain biblical passages, scholars returned to the Hebrew Bible and reevaluated passages which appeared to acknowledge the presence of a divine plurality. Over time, a general consensus has been reached that the Bible does indeed portray a multiplicity of gods, even if there remains individual scholarly disagreement over some of the finer details. In contrast to typical Jewish and Christian belief in Joseph Smith's day, the Book of Abraham frankly depicts a plurality of gods and even uses specific language, took counsel among themselves, that invokes the presence what is now widely recognized by scholars as the unquestionably ancient concept of the divine council. The divine council, as depicted in the Book of Abraham, is composed of at least intelligences and noble and great ones, God, one that was like unto God, one who was like unto the Son of Man, another who was second to the one who was like unto God. According to the Book of Abraham, then, God the Father did indeed work with a council of which Jesus Christ and other noble and great premortal intelligences or souls, spirits, were members. The polytheistic divine councils of the ancient Near East might well be echoes of the conception of the divine council portrayed in the Book of Abraham. To be sure, while there are striking similarities between the Book of Abraham and other ancient texts that feature a divine council, there are also notable differences. What is important for the Book of Abraham is that the text broadly, and even in some specific instances of language, shares a similar ancient conception of a heavenly hierarchy or council of divine beings. While it is true that Joseph Smith learned from his Hebrew studies that the word for God, Elohim, in the Old Testament is technically a masculine plural noun, it does not seem likely that he would have learned about the divine council from his teacher, Joshua Seixas, as the two seem to strongly disagree on the implications this held for the biblical view of God. In any case, with the exception of the Bible, the surviving ancient texts that overtly depict the divine counsel were unknown in the prophet's day. While the theological implications of the divine counsel remain to be fully explored and articulated, what can be said from a fair degree of reasonableness is that the Book of Abraham's depiction of the divine counsel shares features present in other ancient Near Eastern texts, some of which date to Abraham's day. This reinforces the belief that the Book of Abraham is authentically ancient.